We're going to do an informal qualitative analysis by looking at the comments to the Mondami uh, situation where he announces he's going to seize properties. Some people are justifying it, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about what's wrong with what they said. But there's something that I picked up on, a theme, and some of it's intuitive feelings as well. But there's also an element here where people are being conditioned that communist principles, might makes right, is actually okay and a way to go. And I'm going to show you elements of each because then I'm going to come back to the central core and I'm going to tell you if you want a country with opportunity, if you want a country where you can have a standard of living and help your children exceed your standard of living that you had in your life, which is the so-called American dream, which is dead on arrival right now. If you want that, I'm going to talk about some of the elements that you need to perform. And listen, some of you who made the comments, it's public. I mean, people who come to the site are going to see it. So I hope you're not offended and you're entitled to your view. But I'm also going to show, in my humble opinion, what's correct about some views, what's disturbing about other views, and what's just downright communistic and acquiescence to illegitimate authority. My name is Dave Hodges. I'm the host of the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. People ask me, Dave, in a lockdown, pandemic, a war, martial law, supply chains not going because of oil problems, what would you recommend be the number one thing? Well, number one, obviously, is water. Number two is food. But number three is if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And what's the one thing that I can offer you that'll boost your immune system to unbelievable levels with over 30 research studies? Something that I benefited from and I think brought me back from death's doorstep 2 years ago. And it's this, the Nanosoma liquid spray. Lengthens telomeres, that's longevity related. It also helps you produce vitamin C, which we lack, being the only mammal that lacks that. Increases vitamin B, vitamin D, and all of it adds up to a greatly enhanced immune system. The story is told if you go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Every medicine cabinet in America should have this. The maintenance dose is 5 sprays once a day, but if you get something serious, you can use it as much as you feel you need. I was doing 5 sprays every hour when I had strip lung linings from RSV and the prognosis those lung linings aren't coming back. I want my health back.com/Dave Hodges is where you go. Let's take a look at these comments that are very, very enlightening. They kind of give you a cross, and we're just getting started. This article, this video, I should say, just went up maybe an hour ago. Okay. And we're not being promoted anymore. The algorithms are not sending out our stuff like they once were because we're organizing movements, and that's not popular among some people. Okay, let's take a look here. First comment, people are fed up might just be putting it mildly. Okay, and this is about the Mondami situation, saying basically, I'm giving myself the authority to steal property and give it to people we think will do a better job, i.e., probably his campaign contributors. That's not due process, people. That's communistic bullying. And this person here is expressing extreme frustration. This is the country right now. We are extremely frustrated. Second comment made no sense to me. I don't know who Heidi and Spencer are, no offense. The campaign advertisements off the charts. I hope this Spencer Pratt thing is true. Well, it is. It is. Now, we're going to switch gears here because I took from one article to show you people have hope in Spencer Pratt, where he says he's going to take down corrupt criminal officials. Well, it's Karen Bass in LA, but it's Mondami, an anti-constitutionalist in New York. Now we're going to take it to a different level, and we're going to go ahead and look at specifically the Mondami comments. I have to hover over this from Susan 2869. Um, Let your kids enjoy the fruits of your labor? Question mark. After working all these years, you should be enjoying the fruits of your labor. Enjoy yourself with all that money you saved. Who works all those years to never enjoy it? Okay, she should have added one more sentence to put a little cherry on her comment here, which is don't worry about your kids, just take care of yourself. Well, that hasn't been what the American dream is. And I want to be really clear. The American dream was you work hard, you retire, and then when you pass on, you bequeath this to the next generation. They begin to acquire more wealth, and that transfers to the next generation. Well, this stopped about 30 years ago. It used to be the American dream. Now it's gone to the American nightmare, and she's acting as if we should not bequeath things to our kids. And the fact that I'm bringing up that the Biden tax laws have basically destroyed inheritance seems to not matter to her, and it should. It should matter to every American that your value, your money, what you've built that's yours, doesn't get taxed into oblivion and goes back into the government so they can spend it on their donors. That really I find objectionable. Okay, the next one here. Unfortunately, this is Satan's system right now. Impossible to change it, but continue to fight. Well, I don't agree. See, this is the hopelessness. Impossible to change it. Number one, in the reality of our three-dimensional universe, we can coalesce our efforts and band together and say, to hell with this. We're not following this. But then we can also bring in divine intervention. So this is a multi-purpose approach that we can employ instead of the abject hopelessness that we're seeing here, that your actions make no difference. When a society embraces that, they're basically going to put up with everything totalitarian that their ruling leaders give them. And if it's property confiscation, like in the form of Mamdani, hey, more power to them. There's nothing we can do. Well, there is a final option too, collective prayer. Okay, this is not just in the eyes of the Lord, but why should he help when we don't even call on him to help? So there is an answer here like this. And listen to Tim Jones 3423. I share your frustration. But there are solutions here. I tried to unite people under tossthemall.com. Let's get plumbers and trash collectors and basic accountants and nurses and teachers into government and replace the lawyer class that's grifting with insider trading, foreign donations like APAC to their congressional campaigns. This is what we got to get rid of, but people didn't really buy it in large numbers. There's been some movement against the incumbents, but not nearly enough. And the one that we should have maintained, Thomas Massey, we allowed the nation of Israel to come in here and spend $32 million to their Zionist donors and steal a congressional seat. That should be illegal. And we should be up in arms over this. Next item here on the list, as I copied and pasted the relevant ones, they're all on the same team. Look around and see the proof. This is from MWC 6985. I agree. That is an excellent, succinct analysis of what we're looking at. It's called the Uniparty. And if you worry about voter integrity, that's a concern of yours. We often say, well, that's all the Democrats. Well, if you live in Arizona and you pay attention, you know the Republicans are bigger violators than the Democrats. Seriously, they would have done anything to keep Kari Lake from getting elected. Republicans offered Kari Lake a bribe through the head of the GOP in Arizona, Jeff DeWitt, excuse me. And DeWitt offered on tape that we played Kari Lake millions of dollars of bribes not to run against a communist, Ruben Gallego, who, by the way, left his wife for a staffer while she was in the hospital delivering. This is who we're electing. You don't think moral character counts? Okay, now, this is my favorite one right here. This is from Jay Brinkley, 9/11. That's interesting, 9/11. Your cheap little shots against our president are getting old. Well, let's back up here. And I'm not being defensive. I'm just going to say, for the sake of accuracy, what we're looking at here is within the last week, I talked about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is basically a business dictatorship disguised as a free trade agreement passed by Obama. Congress wasn't allowed to read it. Only Paul Ryan, who's a consummate uniparty member, who's an absolute socialist, and he voted we pass it, and we did. Trump came in and killed it. That preserved our constitutional republic. It was DOA under the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And I detailed that and reviewed it this week because then I went on to say, what's happened to Trump? I was at a downtown arena when Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump talked for 2 hours. And in the course of that conversation, Trump says, no more wars, too costly. I don't like to see the loss of life. So what does he do? He lets Israel take us into a war. It's devastating our economy. And you're now beginning to find out how bad it is. And I told you July, I said this on Kim Iverson's show. I said the war ends by Memorial Day. We'll have a few months of hell to pay, but at the end of the day, we'll recover. And I said, but if we don't stop, July is going to get really interesting. We're going to have shortages. Eventually, we'll have rationing. I don't know the time or date for that, but it'll certainly be before the end of the year. And we're saying, well, Dave, we almost have a peace deal. Well, really? We're going to have to keep the military there to enforce it. Iran's still firing missiles at Israel. They brought down a Black Hawk helicopter. Doesn't sound like the war is over to me. And that expense is going to continue. While we fund the Israeli military machine for doing nothing. Nothing. They're not having their Black Hawk helicopters shot down. They're not having their F-35 shot down. They're not putting spec ops on the ground in Iran like we have, and they're not preparing to participate in Operation Nitro Zeus, which is to go after the nuclear facilities by dropping in troops. Well, that's a high casualty event, and Israel's not there. You are sharing the burden, America, and you're going to see young American soldiers coming home in body bags in big numbers, all to support Netanyahu. Okay, well, that runs opposite of what Trump said. So if you want to call that a cheap shot, because I'm reminding everybody of what he promised in public venues when he was campaigning, huh? You want to criticize me for holding the president to his words, not mine? And then we get into not only is it no more wars, drill, baby, drill. Okay, well, we're 5 to 10 years away from being able to refine a lot of our oil, which is too heavy and sludge like to do so. So we export that to countries that will. Why aren't we building the refineries that could do that? I know it's a 5 to 10 year project, but shouldn't we be thinking long term? But we're not even doing that. We're not even doing that. And so I look at this and I just say, where are the campaign promises? Affordability, perp walks, complete release of the Epstein files. He said that in the same venue that I went to 2 years ago. Same venue. And what Epstein files, the president says. You call that a cheap shot? He says one thing and then does another, and you call my little cheap shots. I call you blissfully ignorant. I spent 3 elections in 10 years supporting this president because I believed in him, because I thought he really cared about the American people. And to a large extent, he demonstrated that until Israel got a hold of his administration. And you don't need to go any further than Jared Kushner, who's in the hip pocket of the Mossad, and you go to Susie Wiles, who's his chief of staff that ran Netanyahu's campaign in 2023. Is that a cheap shot or is that a fact? That's a fact. We need an American president who represents American interests and cooperates with other nations, not let other nations take away our sovereignty. And he's seemingly okay with marrying our militaries, where they're going to have the best of our R&D at our expense. They're going to have the best of our secret weapons at our expense. Where's the sovereignty in that? You can't merge your military with another nation and hope to remain sovereign. Is that a cheap little shot? See, this is the one comment that really infuriated me. I don't give a crap who the president is. When he stops representing constitutional interests and defending the rights of the American people and the sovereignty of the country as a whole, that's when I become critical. I'm not blindly loyal to anybody. If a man comes home and finds his wife in bed with his best friend, oh, no big deal. But honey, I promised to be true. Oh, yeah, you promised. I guess you still are. This is what we're going through right now with Israel. They are telling me that I'm anti-Semitic, even though my grandmother's maiden name is Freiberg. I'm anti-Semitic because I criticize Netanyahu for the war crimes his people committed in the West Bank. And the bottom line is I've never been a supporter of Hamas. I think Hamas is despicable. I want Israel to eradicate them, but not to bomb elementary schools, shoot people in food lines, and this is what's been documented. And seemingly our president's okay with supporting a regime that does these war crimes. Netanyahu's been indicted for this, people. This is not something I'm making up. I've supported Israel in every single war they fought up until this one. And then the 6 hour delay in coming to the rescue. Really? When Israel's bragged repeatedly, it takes 3 minutes to get anywhere within our country. And we know they let down the patrols on the border when this happened. Well, Charlie called it a false flag on the PBD podcast. Charlie Kirk said that. Can't take that back, can you? TPUSA Inner Circle, who now is owned by Israeli donor interests. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I being too honest here? And then they tell me I have to believe Genesis 12:3, the final word, that I'm not being Christian-like if I don't follow the Old Testament. Well, I'm sorry. My covenant is with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. You don't have to believe that. I'm not enforcing my beliefs on anybody. But don't tell me that a Christian's duty is to Genesis 12:3 and ignore the crucifixion and resurrection and all that that means. Uh, it's seemingly our president has reverted to 12:3 in Genesis. Mike Huckabee has. I could go down the list. Ted Cruz has. Ted Cruz, I've said this many times. Tucker Carlson's interview, he said, my first duty when I got elected in the Senate was to defend Israel. Really? I thought the people of Texas defended you, Ted Cruz, and you raised your right hand, put your hand on the Bible, and you promised to uphold the Constitution of the United States, which means put America first. Oh, but these are cheap shots. See, that's the one that sets me on fire. And my comments are getting old. Well, okay, then go get the Kool-Aid drinkers that believe that Trump is totally on your side and doing everything in your interest while our economy falls apart, our national security is being undermined. Go with the Kool-Aid drinkers because that's what you got to be to believe that Trump is acting in your behalf today. And I've credited him when he's done some things right. He announces he's going to go into LA and fix the election that just cheated Spencer Pratt. He said the people are coming in. When I see the perp walks, which have never happened, Hillary Clinton should have been perp walked for what she did in his first administration. And now we have the Russia collusion delusion where the perp walks. We got all the proof that's been testified to in Congress. It's a matter of official record. We know who committed crimes. Where are the perp walks? But my cheap shots are getting old. Well, so is Kool-Aid drinking to me. Mr. President, we need you back on our side. And you're going to find this little army of Mr. Brinkley's is shrinking in number tremendously. You are at the lowest approval ratings of any Republican president. And I mourn for that. I'm not joyful in that. I'm extremely sad because I put so much faith and trust in this president. Oh, I know this will spark more comments. Scotty from Scottsdale reports a lot here. I appreciate his comments. America's already at war with itself. We're too divided. A house divided cannot stand. His last statement, Scotty's last statement, is exactly right. But we're being divided artificially. Okay, if you take a black or Chinese or Native American middle class worker, okay, any race, put white people in there, Hispanics, they have a lot in common. We have the same struggles. And we're being vaporized in the middle class across all demographic lines. That should be forcing us together, but we buy the narratives of Fox News and CNN, divide and conquer. Oh, it's black against white, it's Hispanic against black. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. They divide us on religious lines, economic lines, and now the new thing is the wealth tax. Do you really think that Bloomberg's going to pay more tax because Elizabeth Warren's going to get a wealth tax passed? No, that's going to filter down to your level. They'll start out, hey, it looks like they're going after the rich, right? You remember they only used to tax incomes over $10,000 when the graduate income tax came in, and that would be the equivalent today of about $600,000. And that's what the people were told. So most people said, well, I got nothing to worry about. They're going to be paying the tax. Yeah. Do you think that Elizabeth Warren will stop her insider trading? No, no, she won't. Are you sick of the duplicity? Are you sick of the uniparty? It's time that we band together. And I'm working on an action plan right now. And sorry to disappoint you if you think civil war is the answer. It is not. Violence is never the answer. We have nonviolent means to bring along positive social, political, and hopefully spiritual change. But when I look at these cross section of comments here, yeah, only the little people pay taxes. Boy, are you ever right. And then here's a comment here about Spencer Pratt. A nation, a republic that depends on democracies to put leaders in place that allows the kind of things that just happen in LA to transpire. And this is a matter of record. I saw the documents on this on Fox News. Yeah, I mean, it was one of the true things Fox News said. 20,000 votes in one drop, meaning against Spencer Pratt. Of those 20,000 votes that came in late, he got zero. Zero votes out of a 20,000 vote drop. Is that even possible? Of course not. And he lost by 3,000 votes. And then they had 18,000 Republican signatures rejected, despite the fact that Gavin Newsom backed a law that says you can't disqualify votes because of signature irregularities, because people who were Democrat were writing smiley faces, putting an exclamation mark, and that served as signatures, and Newsom moved to protect that. Now, all of a sudden, when the shoe's on the other foot, oh, we can't be found. We're not going to enforce anything. And Donald Trump says he's going to do anything, but until people go to jail, nothing is being done. The fact is that we have to unite. End of story. I'm Dave Hodges. I'm looking forward to your further comments. And make them as critical or forceful or supportive as you want to be, because we need to have this public discourse right now. Because one, I won't accept hopelessness. Two, I won't accept the fact that God is not all powerful and all sovereign, will act on our behalf if we call upon him. Three, no leader is immune from criticism ever, especially when he boldly and brazenly breaks campaign promises he repeated over and over and over and over, and then lies about the state of the economy. Yeah, well, we're not stopping telling the truth here on the Common Sense Show. We hope you'll support us in that. We are not being shared hardly at all. And I'm getting horror stories from people that can't subscribe. And this is in our social media. I can't do anything about that stuff. Okay, but you can share with other people. I'm Dave Hodges. This is the Common Sense Show.